Why does one piece of paper buy you a whole meal, while another can't even buy a stick of gum? Why is one currency worshipped globally, and another collapses overnight? Most people think it's about rich countries versus poor countries. But the truth is stranger. Currency value is a story of power, trust, manipulation, and centuries of financial engineering, a story governments hope you never fully understand. Today, we unpack why currencies have different values and why the system is far more fragile than it looks. To understand currency values, you have to go back not to Wall Street, not to the IMF, but to a world before money even existed. In ancient markets, people traded goods directly, but bartering broke down fast, too slow, too limited. So societies began choosing objects everyone trusted: gold, silver, rare metals. But here's the twist. Early currencies didn't have value. They stole it from something else. A coin's value was whatever its metal was worth. This worked until kings discovered the cheat code. Enter the Roman Empire. Rome realized it could expand its power by lowering the silver in its coins, while keeping the same value. This was the first major currency manipulation in history, and it worked at first. The idea spread. Countries realized that controlling money meant controlling empires. Fast forward to the 1600s. The rise of central bank Sweden first, then England changed everything. They issued currency based not on metals, but on promises. Suddenly, money wasn't wealth. It was trust, and trust is fragile. By the 20th century, the world wanted stability, so nations tied their currencies to gold, the famous gold standard. This system kept everyone honest until it didn't. 1944. Bretton Woods. War-torn economies needed rebuilding, and the US held most of the world's gold. So one decision changed the global hierarchy forever. The US dollar would be the world's reserve currency, and every other currency would get its value based on the dollar. But there was a flaw. The US promised more dollars than it had gold to back them. The moment countries discovered this, they rushed to convert dollars into gold. And in 1971, Nixon made the shock decision. The dollar would no longer be backed by gold. Money became fully imaginary value based entirely on trust, perception, and geopolitical power. That's when currency values began to diverge wildly. Once currencies floated freely, supply and demand became everything. Countries with stable politics, strong exports, high productivity, and powerful militaries, their currencies surged. Countries with unstable governments, debt crises, or weak industries, their currencies collapsed. But the real engine behind currency value wasn't what most people think. It wasn't resources. It wasn't population. It was capital flow, where global money chooses to move. Rich nations attract investment. Investment creates demand. Demand strengthens their currency. Poor nations lose investment. Their currencies weaken. Weak currencies make imports expensive. Expensive imports create inflation. Inflation scares investors even more. It becomes a doom loop. For decades, countries fought currency decline with everything they had. Currency pegs, foreign reserve hoarding, capital controls, IMF bailouts, but none of them solve the root problem. Trust cannot be manufactured. China tried a different strategy. Controlled the currency from the top down. Switzerland tried the opposite. Defend the currency so hard it nearly broke the central bank. Argentina tried to peg the peso to the dollar to watch it collapse twice. Meanwhile, the US dollar kept winning, not because it's perfect, but because it's trusted more than the alternatives. This is the paradox of currency values. The strongest currencies belong not to the countries with the most money, but the most credibility. Look at today's data. Zimbabwe. Inflation over 600%. Lebanon. Currency down over 98%. Turkey. The lira lost 80% of its value in 5 years. Japan. The yen hit its weakest point in decades, despite being a wealthy nation. The dollar still dominates 88% of global forex transactions. Different values, same pattern. When trust falls, currencies die. Every modern currency crisis from Sri Lanka to Venezuela follows the same steps Rome took 1,800 years ago. Debase, deny, delay, collapse every time. And yet we pretend each crisis is unique. After thousands of years of experiments, failures, wars, and resets, the truth is simple. Currencies have different values because nations have different levels of trust, productivity, power, and credibility. People don't buy currency. They buy the story behind it. The US sells stability. Switzerland sells safety. Japan sells reliability. Singapore sells discipline. Argentina and Lebanon. Their governments sold promises they couldn't keep. Currency value is not about money. It's about belief. Takeaway number 1. A currency's value is not fixed. It's a mirror reflecting the world's trust in that nation. Takeaway number 2. Most currency collapses begin years before the public notices, through debt, money printing, and political instability. Takeaway number 3. The global system still depends heavily on one currency, the US dollar, which means a single shock could rewrite the world's financial order again. Warning. We are living inside another turning point right now, with rising global debt, weakening trust in institutions, and new digital currencies emerging. The next currency reset isn't a question of if, but when. If you want more deep dives into financial history, global debt, and the secrets of central banking, subscribe for the next chapter.